Episode 9 Thodi Si Zameen. Namaste. I'm Gayatri. Gayatri. Forget it. What's in a surname? Rinku here tells me that she wants to interview Guria's mother, the same Guria who has topped in the 12th board exams yesterday. Proud? Of course, certainly. Am I not glad that I gave birth to her? Yes, that's right. I was asked, no, I was forced not to give birth to her. I belonged to a middle class family. Nitin, my husband, was a medical representative. We lived in Rohtak. After a few months of our marriage, I discovered that I was pregnant. Our first child. I couldn't contain my joy and my excitement. Initially, Nitin too was very happy. But then one day he took me to a doctor who carried out certain tests. I didn't really understand what it was all about. After the sonography, the doctor took Nitin aside and spoke something in a low voice. Then Nitin came to me and said that the child in my womb was not growing properly and should be immediately aborted. I was shocked because just yesterday my mother-in-law and myself we had visited the gynecologist and she had found the baby healthy and developing the right way. I didn't know what was happening. I was taken to the operating room and the child inside me was aborted, taken away. I didn't even have time to react. Bruised and dispirited, we returned back home at midnight. But my tears wouldn't stop. Next morning, I heard my mom-in-law talking to her sister on the phone. गिरवा दिया, लड़की थी ना. And in a flash, I understood why the baby in my womb was killed. I didn't know whether I was more hurt at losing my child or angrier at Nitin and my in-laws. And it didn't stop there. The taunts, the jibes at having conceived a child every day was so disgusting and so humiliating. I wondered what kind of education Nitin had. Was he still trapped in the ideology that only a male child completes the family? Wasn't this the 21st century? But the bitter truth was that the times had progressed, not Nitin and his parents. When I was put through the same ordeal the second time, I fainted on the operating table. For weeks after my second abortion, I just couldn't gather myself. I felt a part of me died with my daughters. I so wanted to hold them, to feed them, to play with them, to see them smile, to see them grow, to dress them up in those small little pink and blue frocks, to tie their pigtails with multicolored ribbons, and to be called Ma by them. Even my own parents blamed me for having conceived a girl child twice. When I conceived the third time, I dreaded the repetition of the same nightmare. I didn't know who was in my womb, a girl or a boy. I only knew that the child was mine, my flesh and my blood. For many days, I did not let anyone know about my pregnancy. I don't know why I was hoping against hope that this time they would spare me and my child. But there was no letting up in their desire to have a male child. I cried, pleaded, and begged of Nitin not to do this. I tried to explain to him that this was our child and we should accept him or her with full glee. But Nitin would have none of it. He shouted and blamed at all the modern education that I had received. He got so angry that he hit me and pushed me to the corner. My mother in law came running in and asked Nitin to control his anger. You never know, Nitin. It may be a boy. I couldn't stop crying. But still, Nitin dragged me to the doctor's clinic. After the test, Nitin shouted at me in despair. Why can't you conceive a son? How many times more will you conceive a girl? The doctor signaled me to go to the operating room once again. But I had had enough of this. If it was a girl in my womb, so be it. I wasn't going to abort her. She was my child, my flesh and blood. I was not going to kill her. I was going to give birth to her. I wouldn't allow anyone to kill her. I had already aborted 2 daughters, but not this third one. I will give her birth. She had a house inside me, inside my womb. Now I will give her a house in this world too. God knows how, but somehow I ran away from the clinic. I knew my parents wouldn't keep me. My 2 sisters would be equally helpless. There was nowhere to go. I somehow managed to reach the bus depot and ran and sat inside a bus to Delhi. I had just about enough money in my wallet to buy the ticket. I reached Delhi, but from the ITBP, I had no idea what to do. But Rinku, जब कुछ करने का जुनून हो जाता है ना, तो रास्ते खुलने लगते हैं. I had read about an NGO in Delhi that gave work to destitute women like me. I managed to reach that NGO after 2 days. No, don't even ask me where and how I lived in those 2 days. The NGO asked me a lot of questions, but I only told the madam there that I just wanted to give birth to my daughter, and for that I was ready to do any kind of work. She took pity on me and gave me work to make mattresses and doormats. She asked me to stay in the veranda at the back side of the office. That is how I gave birth to Guria. I was persecuted by my in-laws. They reached my parents' house and raised hell. But secretly, my sisters helped me a lot. I knew that I couldn't stay at the NGO for very long, as Nitin and his parents would certainly look for me. Police? Rinku, police in this country have only protected the political leaders and the moneyed people. Never common people like us. So when Guria was just 6 months old, I left the NGO and went to Nizamuddin Junction. Another NGO helped me to rent a room, and I began to work as domestic help. One of the houses where I worked was that of Neerja madam. She is principal in a school. When she came to know that I was a graduate, she asked me to apply for a clerical post in her school. Well, so here I am. Rinku, you said that you wanted me to see Guria fly high in the skies. I don't know, Rinku, what Guria will decide to do. I just want a little bit of ground for her to stand firmly. Bas थोड़ी सी ज़मीं चाहिए, where she is able to stand with a free mind, with a sense of independence, with passion and without fear. She can fly high if she wants to. लेकिन जितना भी आकाश में उड़ोगे, लौट कर तो इसी ज़मीं पर वापस आना है. It is here that I want space for my daughter. I don't want to burden her shoulders with my dreams of making her an engineer or a doctor or a pilot. I won't mind if she becomes a caterer, a clerk in an office, or a telemarketer. All I want is that she understands what is humanity and does her bit with sincerity. Nitin. Well, I don't know where he is. Never try to contact him. My parents. I guess they learned their lesson. My sisters? Oh, yes. We are strongly connected as we always were. Any regrets? Yes, Rinku. I wish I had the other two daughters too with me. We would have made one happy family together. है ना? बस रिंकू, that is all. Namaste.